Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be part 2 of my eyeshadow palette declutter. I'm going to go through and declutter the rest of them. My goal was to declutter a third. So I started off with 137 palettes, and I actually don't know how many I've decluttered so far because I didn't count them. But if you want to see part 1, I'll link it below. I am doing a giveaway in part 1. I'm giving away the Natasha Denona Glam palette along with a few other products. So definitely check that out and enter. But let's jump back into it and do part 2. I feel like I'm going to have to rearrange the drawer in a few minutes because they're not all sitting up as well. But this one is the Domini Cosmetics Celestial Thunder palette. I love this one. I did get it in a BoxyCharm box. It's funny because some people say the palettes they include in subscription boxes aren't any good, but I've actually found quite a few that I love, including this one. This one is a mini version of Celestial Thunder. No, this one is Celestial Thunder. This one's a mini version of Celestial Storm, but I love this one. The colors are great. I like her formula overall, so I'm going to keep this one. I am going to declutter the Latte 2 palette. So I got this one, well, it's funny because I got this one in a subscription box. I got it from a Trend Mood box. I think the colors are great and a lot of the shadows work well for me, but as far as neutral palettes go, there are other formulas that I like better. A few of these deeper shades are kind of hard to blend out, and I don't find that I reach for the pops of color a whole lot. So I feel like this palette is just sitting in my collection going unused, and I'd rather pass it along to somebody else to enjoy it. So I am going to declutter this one. The last Domini Cosmetics palette that I have is this one. It is the Berries and Cream palette, which I am going to keep. I love the shades in here. This was my first palette from the brand. I think the colors are beautiful. It works so well, so I'm definitely going to hang on to this one. I think I'm going to declutter Urban Decay's Born to Run. I know a lot of people love this, and I do like it, but I don't know, I haven't reached for it a lot over the past few years, and I know that I haven't reached for it at all in 2020, so I think it's time to get rid of it. I will say that the new Urban Decay Naked Wild West does have a lot of similar shades in it. I wouldn't say that there are a lot of exact dupes because this one does have some different tones, but if I want to look that I can get out of this, I'm sure I can get out of Naked Wild West, Naked Cherry, Naked Heat, and Naked Honey, and I'm keeping all of those. So I think it's time to declutter this one. I just don't reach for it very often. I am going to declutter these little Too Faced palettes. They're cute, and they did send these to me in the mail as PR. They actually sent me 4. I tried 2, and then I gave 2 away. I'm glad that I gave them away before trying them because I just feel like the formula is so inconsistent, and when it comes to palettes, I have other formulas I like better. I actually think that this is such a cute color story. You can do like a softer, lighter pastel look or something a little bit more vibrant, but every time I use it, there are at least like 2 or 3 shades that just let me down. So I'm going to declutter this one. I like Kitty Likes to Scratch better because I feel like as a whole, I tend to get better looks using this one. But at the same time, I have other neutrals that just work better for me. So I'm just going to give them to someone else. I'm sure maybe one of my cousins or my sister might enjoy them. Again, it's not like the worst formula I've tried. I just feel like there are better formulas out there. I just got this cute little mini palette in the mail. This is the Makeup by Mario Glam Quad in Bronzy Glam. And I really like this. I've been using this one quite a bit. I've at least worn it like 6 or 7 times, and I've only had it for maybe 2 weeks. But these shadows are nice for everyday wear. Whenever I wear this, you guys are like, what are you wearing? It just looks very soft, very blended, and this quad as a whole just looks pretty on the eyes. Typically, I will take like my bronzer as a transition, and then I'll blend the deeper brown into the crease, and then go in with any combination of the shimmers all over the lid. It's not a super vibrant, intense quad, but I think if you're looking for something simple for everyday wear, you might enjoy this. It's a little bit more expensive. I think it's $25 for 4 shades. So it depends if you want to spend that much money, but I do find myself reaching for this one quite a bit. Let me just rearrange these palettes a little bit. Okay, you know what? Let's go through these ColourPop 9-pan palettes. I don't know that I'm going to get rid of a ton of them because these are the palettes that I reach for the most in my entire collection, other than maybe like 1 or 2 other palettes from other brands. But I do love these, especially if I want to do a colorful look, I can just reach into one of these. And then these are also some of my staple neutral palettes. So I do want to declutter at least a few of them, but I think I'll probably end up hanging on to most of them. This one is Going Coconuts. This one just has like staple everyday neutral eyeshadows. I do wear this one a ton. I like this one because it's not too warm toned or too cool toned. It's perfect for everyday wear. This one is Miss Bliss. You know what? I think I can probably declutter this one. I do like this one because it is a softer pastel palette. You do get pinks and oranges, but I do have other pink and orange palettes from ColourPop, so I think I can actually remove this one from my collection. This one is the Baby Got Peach palette. I love this one. I think the peach tones are perfect for the spring season. It's very easy to work with. The shadows are blendable and soft, so I do want to keep this one. I think I'm actually going to declutter Ooh La La. This was one of my first like colorful 9-pan palettes from ColourPop. I don't know what the reason is, but for some reason I don't use this one as much as some of the other colorful 9-pans. I think it's because I don't wear like hot pinks as often as I used to. That used to be like my go-to color, which is why I did buy this one. But again, I have pinks in other ColourPop palettes I like just a little bit better, so I will declutter this one. Main Squeeze is a fun palette if you do like red tones. I like this one a lot. I don't wear red tones as often as I do some other colorful shades, but I do think that this palette makes red tones a little bit more approachable, so I am going to keep this one. This one is Orange You Glad. This one is a really fun, vibrant orange palette. Again, I don't use this one as much as I do maybe like greens and blues, but I do like to have it when I do want an orange toned look. Aha Honey is a fun palette. It makes yellows really approachable because these yellows aren't quite as intimidating as like, I guess like true neon yellows. They're almost a little bit more toned down. There are some neutral toned yellows in here, so I'm going to keep this one too. I know for sure I'm going to keep the rest of these colorful palettes, so let me just go through them really quickly so you can see what they look like. This one is Mint to Be. This one's a good option if you want like a mint toned eyeshadow palette as a whole. The shadows can be a little bit similar on the eyes, but it's a pretty good value if you do wear those a lot. Just My Luck is a pretty vibrant green palette. You do get, again, some softer greens, some more vibrant, deep-toned greens too. I do love the Blue Moon palette. It's one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes. I actually don't think I have a lot of blues in my collection at this point, so when I do want to wear a blue look, this one is perfect. Lilac You a Lot is a really pretty, like, softer purple palette. You can actually get some color out of this one if you incorporate those two bottom shades, but overall it's a little bit softer, perfect for spring or everyday purple looks. I do love It's My Pleasure. It's still one of my top ColourPop palettes. I just think the shades in here are so pretty. There are some unique duochromes, and then it does have the perfect mix of pinks and purples. Wine and Only is just a very vibrant, intense, berry toned palette. Why can't I get these open? This one is gorgeous if you like deeper looks. I think that this palette is so easy to work with. The shadows are blendable, intense, and vibrant, and I raved about this one a lot during the beginning of the year. I'm just kind of looking through these to see if there are any I plan on decluttering. I think I will declutter this one. This one is the She's Got Solstice palette. This one was an Ulta exclusive for a little while, and then they did bring it out on ColourPop's website. I love this gold shade, and I think a lot of the shades perform well, but again, I do feel like I can duplicate a lot of these colors with palettes I'm keeping, so I will declutter this one. I think I will declutter these two as well. These are the Sol and Mar palettes. I think they're still available on ColourPop's website. I like these, I do, but again, I feel like because I'm keeping the rest of these colorful and neutral palettes, I don't need these as well. This one has some brighter oranges and reds, some toned down neutrals, but it's great if you do like a warm toned look overall. The Mar palette is probably my favorite out of the two because you do get those gorgeous blues. I'm so tempted to keep this one. I didn't reach for it at all in 2020. Like, that's my rule. If I didn't reach for it once in 2020, it has to go. And I know I did not reach for this one, even though I do like it. So I used it a lot probably back in 2019, but because I haven't used it in a year, I have to let it go. So I am going to declutter this one too. I think I'll keep the rest of these. I'll come back and show you the rest of these in a few minutes, but I don't want this whole video to just be the palettes I'm keeping. I want to declutter a few more first, and then I'll go through those if you are interested in seeing what they look like. I actually do have a few ColourPop palettes left. So this one is the Fame palette. I loved this one. This was one of the first cooler toned palettes they released. But again, I'm keeping some other ones, so I think I can finally declutter this one. I did get a ton of use out of this, and I know it wasn't well loved by everyone, but at the time, not a lot of brands were doing like cooler toned neutral palettes. So this one was such a staple in my collection. But I have some other cooler toned palettes I like just a little bit better, so I'm going to declutter it. I think I'm still going to keep this one. This one is the Through My Eyes palette. This one is just one of their more unique palettes. It has a bunch of warm tones in it. You get a few pops of color. I still like using this one, especially during the summertime, so I'm still going to keep this one. This one is the Colourpop Fade into Hue palette. You know what? I need to declutter this one. I didn't actually use it once. They sent it to me in the mail as PR, and I meant to use it, and I never got around to it, so that means I need to declutter it, pass it along to someone else. I'm tempted to keep it because it's pretty, and I can tell myself that I'll use it, but I feel like if it's been sitting here and I haven't actually touched it, I'd rather give it to someone else who will actually use it rather than just having it sit around. So unfortunately, I am going to declutter this one. It's really pretty. I can't keep it if I haven't actually used it. I am going to keep Bare Necessities. This one has a lot of neutral colors. I feel like this is, should I keep this? I do feel like I have these shades in other palettes, but I do like this one. Whenever I do travel, which hasn't been for a while, this is a nice one to bring. Even though it's a little bit larger, I just kind of like lay it down so it doesn't take up a lot of room, but it has a ton of shades to choose from. So I'm going to keep this one. I'm also going to keep So Jaded. This one has a bunch of really pretty jewel tones. I don't know if this one is still available on their website, but I do like the colorful shades in here. There are some really unique, pretty colors too that I don't have. I'm actually going to declutter this palette. It is the Profusion Mirage palette. This palette is so big. I actually really like Profusion eyeshadows. They work really, really well. I was so pleasantly surprised when I tried this and another one of their palettes, but it's just so large and bulky. I mean, these are pretty big too, but I feel like this is as big as I really want to go with palettes. When they're this big, I don't reach for them very often. So I do like Profusion as a whole. I want to try some of their newer products, but I am going to declutter this one. It's just too big and bulky for me. The last bigger palette that I have is the Tati Beauty Textured Neutrals Volume 1. I really like this palette. I don't know if Tati is ever going to come back or come back out with more eyeshadow, but I think that this palette is so good. I don't wear the pressed glitters a whole lot, so if she does ever come out with more eyeshadow palettes, I hope she'll kind of eliminate those from future palettes, but I do like this one. I think it's gorgeous. I recently put it in my everyday makeup drawer for spring. I've been making more of an effort to use it, so I am going to keep this one. Okay, I have these smaller palettes. So I have the 3 from Dose of Colors, and I like these palettes. I do. This one is Sassy Siennas, but you know what? I think I'm going to declutter these. They do perform well. They each come with 5 matte shadows. I know that my mom really likes these, and I feel like she would get more use out of them than I do. I like this formula because it is blendable, but I just like my shimmers and my metallics. So I'm not reaching for like all matte palettes as often, if at all, these days. So I think I'm actually going to pass these along to her because I know she likes this formula. This one is pretty cool. I actually think she'll really like this one because she does tend to prefer neutrals overall. And then this one is Marvelous Mauves. This one's pretty old. I actually think she might have this one, so it might be time to get rid of this one. I love the color story in here. Again, it's very blendable, so if you like matte shadows, you might really enjoy this formula. I like the formula. Again, I feel like I have to cut my collection down a little bit, and these just aren't at the top of my list. I have to be getting close to my goal. I haven't counted yet. I'm going to count at the very end, but I feel like I'm getting there. Okay, where was I? These ones. This one I got in a BoxyCharm. I love this one. This one is called the Peak palette. This one actually just contains 5 shadows from existing Natasha Denona palettes, but I use this shade all the time, especially with my other Natasha Denona palettes. I typically use this to set my eyeshadow primer, and then I'll also use it as a highlight. And I love this pink one in the crease, and then I also love this one all over the lid. I just like her formula a lot. I think it performs very well, so I am going to keep this one. And then I have 2 of these Ofra palettes. The first one is the Signature palette in Sweet Dreams. This one has some really pretty pink shades. It's very easy to work with. I do enjoy this one. And then I also have this one. This one is the Signature palette in Galaxy. Okay, I actually haven't used this one. And again, another one of my rules is if I haven't used it, I have to declutter it. I'm so mad I haven't used this one because I like the purples. You know what? I'm breaking my rule. I'm going to keep this one and I'm going to use it this week. And if I don't end up liking it, I'll declutter it. But I think the purples are going to be so pretty on the eyes, and I love this highlight shade. So I'm making an exception. That highlight shade is called Neptune. You know what? I almost actually bought the full-size version. It was like half Neptune and then half a gold highlighter on Ulta's website because it's been on sale. So perfect. I'm going to keep this one. I'm going to break a rule. But that's it. If I find another palette that I haven't used, it has to go. I can only do that once. Okay, back here I do have some Juvia's Place palettes and then a couple of other ones. This one is the Nubian palette. This was my first Juvia's Place palette. It's so good. It performs well. I'll be honest, I haven't reached for this at all in 2020, so I think it's time for this one to go. I do like it, and I used to use this one all the time, but again, it's not one of my staple palettes at this point, so I am going to declutter it. I have a few other Juvia's Place palettes. In the first part of my declutter, if you guys missed it, I did talk about these mini Juvia's Place palettes over here, which I've been enjoying, but these are my more colorful ones. I love the Tribe palette. This one is no longer around, but it's just very unique. It's probably my most interesting palette color story wise. I don't always reach for all of these shades, but I like having them in my collection. They're a little bit different. If I want to do something more unique, this one is perfect. I love the Warrior palette. I like this one better than Nubian just because these are the neutrals that I tend to wear more often. Nubian has some more like orangey red tones, and this one has more like bronze tones and golds. So I'm going to keep this one as well. I love the Magic Mini palette. I think that this one is a lot of fun. I especially love the bottom two rows because they're a little bit more cool toned. And then I also love the Masquerade Mini. This is one of my all-time favorite palettes from the brand. I especially love the top two rows. But this one also has some good staple neutrals on the bottom too. So I'm going to keep all of these. This one is the Beauty Bakerie Breakfast in Bed palette. So I really like the color story, which is why I did try it out. I think I actually got this one in a subscription box, but unfortunately the formula just doesn't work well for me. It's a little bit more subtle. So again, if you do like more of a shadow formula that you have to build up, you might prefer this one. I'm sure there's someone in my family who would really enjoy this one, so I'm going to pass it along to them. I love the colors. I want to try more from Beauty Bakerie because I've heard really good things. This palette just didn't work for me. This one is the Queen palette by the brand Eloise. I like this palette. I got this one in a BoxyCharm, and the shadows are gorgeous. The metallics are so intense and vibrant on the eyes. You also get some really pretty matte shadows in here, so I'm definitely going to keep this one too. This one is my Dose of Colors Friendcation palette, which unfortunately is no longer available, but I still love this one. It's still good. I will be so sad when this one finally does expire because I love the shades in here. The metallics are so pretty, so I am going to keep this one. And then I have my Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes, which again, I'm not going to get rid of. I think eventually this one will expire, probably this one too, but as long as I can, I'm going to hang on to them. So this one is Modern Renaissance. This was my first experience with the brand. It's a good palette. I don't use it as much these days, but I do feel like I still want to keep this one because there are occasions where I'll reach for like one or two shades and it still works well. You know what? I probably have one more year left with this one because it is getting older, but it still works well. So as long as it works well, I'm going to keep it. I still love Soft Glam. I've had this one for a while, but this one is perfect if you like a neutral eyeshadow look, but you want something a little bit more fun, a little more sultry. This one is a great day to night palette because it does have softer tones and deeper tones, and these three metallics are my favorite. Norvina is so much fun if you like pink and purple tones. I love the colors in here. I especially love this gold, which is kind of random. Out of the entire palette, this gold is my favorite, but I think this palette as a whole is gorgeous. It's a little bit powdery, but it's so blendable and easy to work with. The Jackie Aina palette is my favorite palette that Anastasia Beverly Hills has ever done. The shadows are so vibrant and intense. It's so easy to work with, and this color story is perfect. Jackie did such a good job with this palette, so I'm definitely keeping this one. And then I have the Sultry palette. This one is just like a staple neutral palette. Very easy to work with. The shimmers are so intense and vibrant, and I always reach for this one if I have like a special occasion. If I'm going to a wedding or like a holiday party, this is my go-to palette. Okay, I have cut down a ton. I have these palettes to go through, and then I have a few more that don't actually fit in the drawer, so we are getting close. Here are the palettes that don't fit in my drawer. This one is the Profusion Nude Eyes palette. I'm going to declutter this one. It's not available, and I don't always do that. Like if I have a palette in my collection that's limited edition or was discontinued, then I might still keep it if I love it. But when it comes to Profusion, I want to try some palettes from the brand that are actually available so I can recommend them and use them in upcoming videos. And there is a similar color story on the website I'm going to try to see if it's just as good. So in the meantime, I'm going to pass this one along. It's really good. I love it. I wish it was actually available on their website. I do have a bunch of these e.l.f. bite-sized palettes. Wow, I didn't realize I had so many of them. I knew that I had all of them. I guess I should say I didn't realize they made so many of them. So there are a few that just don't work great. I am going to, Is it this one? I think it's this one. I'm going to declutter Rose Water. These shadows are pretty lackluster compared to some of the other ones. I feel like I really have to build them up over and over, so it's not one that I reach for super often. I'm going to keep the purple one, Acai You. I'm also going to keep this one, Carnival Candy. This one's like a neutral with a pop of blue. This one is so good. This one is called Hot Jalapeno. It's actually a really good alternative to the Melt Smoke Sessions palette. It's not an exact dupe because this one only comes with 4 shadows, but you can get a very, very similar look using this one, and it's $3. I love Pumpkin Pie. This one is great if you do want a little bit more of a warm toned look. Yeah, I guess it was just this one that doesn't perform well. This one, like I said, is Rose Water, but the rest are good. I love this one. I actually repurchased it, Cream and Sugar. I had it and then I dropped it and everything shattered, but it is one of my go-tos, so I ended up repurchasing that, and I did the same thing with this one. This one is Truffles. That's the only problem with these. They're not packaged super well, so I do find that they break if you do drop them, and I feel like because they're so small, they do tend to get like knocked off my vanity, or like another palette will land on them. I'm just kind of clumsy with my makeup. This one is Berry Bad. I love this one. This one is so good if you want more of a vibrant look. So I am going to hang on to the majority of these. The e.l.f. Mint Melt Shadows. Okay, you know what? I'm going to declutter this one too. This one is meant to be. I did review this whole collection on my channel, and as a whole, the collection performs really well. I like these two, but they're very similar to the mint shadows in the ColourPop palette that I kept, and the matte shadows just don't work very well for me. So because of that, I'm going to get rid of this one, but I am going to keep this one. This one is Chocolate Mint. So you do get a mint shadow in here, you get some neutrals. I feel like this one as a whole is better than the other one. The other palettes in here are just the ColourPop 5-pan palettes they released. So this one is Crush. This one has some warm toned eyeshadows in it. I don't know which ones I want to keep and which ones I want to declutter. This one is Ballad. It's more of a cool toned 5-pan. I'm going to keep this one because I don't have as many cool tones. This one is Sealed with a Kiss. This was part of their Valentine's Day collection. I do like this one, and I like the fact that it doesn't have a pressed glitter in it. Melt For You is really good for like easy everyday looks. There's another one. This one's from the Valentine's Day collection 143. This one has really vibrant pinks. I think I'm going to keep this one because I did declutter Ooh La La. I think I will declutter this one. This one is Amore. These are shades that I do like, but I think I kept at least one other ColourPop palette with similar tones in it. Yeah, I kept the Bye Bye Birdie palette, and that has some similar shades, so I will declutter this one. This one is Cherish, and I do like this one. I think it performs well, but again, I feel like it's kind of similar to Wine and Only. Wine and Only is a little bit deeper, but I also have All That. So I think I can part with this one too. I do want to keep Lyric. It's a pretty basic neutral palette, but I feel like this will be good once we can travel again, hopefully one day soon, just to throw in my bag. And same case with this one, Crush. I just feel like it would be nice to kind of throw in my bag for traveling. Okay, finishing up, I think that these are the rest of my palettes. These are from Kaleidos. So these are all part of their Futurism collection. I don't think I have all of them. I have 1, 2, 3, and then I have 6 and 7. So I'm missing 4 and 5, but I do like these. Here's what they look like. I'll show you in case you are interested in trying them out. This one is the Futurism 1. It has some really pretty greens, and that pop of gold is gorgeous. This one's kind of similar to Smoke Sessions. So if you do like Kaleidos or even wanting to try the brand, and you also like the Smoke Sessions palette, this could be a good alternative. This one is number 2, the Cyber Bronze palette. I am going to keep this one. I actually really like the Kaleidos formula. I think it performs so well. Astro Pink is gorgeous. Look at those metallics. They are so pretty and vibrant. So I'll keep that one, and then I'll keep these two as well. This one is Futurism 7. This one is perfect if you do like more of a softer neutral look. My only complaint is I don't like how they have like this handout with the shade names. I wish they were just like, what am I doing? I wish they were just like imprinted on there somewhere, just because I feel like it is annoying when I use it, but it's not that big of a deal. And then this one is Futurism Volume 6. This one is a pretty purple toned palette, which again, I do love. Okay, so let me count them and see where I'm at. Oh, shoot, I forgot to show you these ColourPop palettes. Let me just run through these really quickly. Just skip ahead like 2 minutes if you're not interested in those. Like I said, I'm going to keep these, but I'll still run through them in case you're interested in seeing what they look like. This one is Nude Mood. It's perfect for everyday looks. It is one of my go-to, just like easy everyday palettes. This one is That's Taupe. I love this one for more cooler toned neutral looks. The shadows blend really, really well. Blush Crush is a great one if you do like pink eyeshadow. There are a few purpley tones on the bottom, bottom, but overall it's a pretty easy everyday palette. Coasta Coral is a little bit newer to my collection. They did this one last year. I think that this one is such a good option if you like corals and you don't want something too orange toned, because you do get some coral shades, but you also get some like pink tones in here as well. Big Poppy is a matte orange palette. So that's what this one looks like. And then Little Ray of Sunshine is a matte, kind of like yellow toned neutral palette. This one is the Child palette. It is the Mandalorian collaboration, which I think is really fun, especially if you like green eyeshadow. And then Making Mauves is one of my top 3 for sure. It has a really pretty like soft mauvey purpley pink tone to it. The metallics in here are so good. They are some of the best that ColourPop has done. This collection, I think it was called, oh shoot, what was it called? I think it was called like Into Bloom or something like that, is so good because these are all neutral eyeshadows, but they're a little bit deeper. So I like all 3 of these a lot. Baroque is gorgeous if you love cooler tones. And then Ornate is the one that I've used the least, but I still like it because it has like rich, warm tones in it. You know what? I think I can declutter Brown Sugar. I like this palette a lot, but I feel like I have these shades in other ColourPop palettes at this point, so I haven't reached for this one quite as much. So I will declutter this one too. Okay, now that I've gone through all of those, I feel like I had to have hit my goal. My drawer is so much less crowded. And honestly, if I was to like stack these a little bit better or push them back a little bit more, there would be even more space. And then this wasn't even in here before. Okay, so this is what my collection looked like before. I had a ton of palettes in there. I actually couldn't even fit all of them. And this is what it looks like after. So I definitely have more space in here. It still looks pretty crowded, but if I took this out, I'd have this whole front section open, and then I'll probably stack them and rearrange them a little bit better once I'm done with this video. Okay, so let me count them and see where I'm at. Okay, so my goal was 45 eyeshadow palettes and I decluttered 47, which is perfect. I feel like that is a lot of palettes to get rid of, but I feel good about it because I just needed to cut my collection down by quite a bit. It's just getting out of hand. There's no way I can use all of these palettes. So I'm going to pass all of these along to friends and family, and I'm sure some of them will be able to enjoy these palettes and get more use out of them than I have. I definitely feel good about my smaller, more curated collection. I still have a ton of eyeshadow palettes, honestly, but for me, there is no need to have so many. Like 47 palettes, like I can't believe that I've been able to declutter 47. I didn't need to keep all of these. So I'm definitely going to cut back on buying so many. And if I get some in the mail as PR this year that I don't think I'll use, I'll just give them away before I even try them and add them to my collection. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thanks for hanging out with me and decluttering. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to check out my other declutter videos, I'll link them in the description box below. But I'll see you guys very soon with a new one. Bye.